Great. Thank you so much, Parth, for joining us on Sabar this evening. Just to introduce you to our viewers, listeners, Parth Sharma is a physician, researcher, and writer. He graduated from the Christian Medical College, Vellore in 2020, and he's currently doing his MD in Preventive and Social Medicine in Maulana Azad Medical College, Delhi. Having witnessed a lot of suffering during his clinical practice in the departments of medical oncology and emergency medicine, he works to improve not just people's quality of life, but is also very active in conversations around the quality of death. So he works primarily in the areas of preventive and supportive oncology and wants to work in improving the accessibility and affordability of cancer care in India. So, Parth, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And I wanted to tell you that, when we started Sabar, our aim was to create a space where we could, as I just mentioned, just interrupt some of these very dominant conversations that we have about care, but particularly healthcare, and, create some kind of an alternative discourse. And for us, the work that you do, and in particular, the work that you do over at Nivarna, is so inspiring. We also refer to your work. We've got a link to your work on the Sabar website. We have a page on allied care collaboratives that we follow, and Nivarna being one of them. So just to let you know that we super appreciate your work, and we're so glad that you could join us for this conversation. So if we could maybe start, I mean, some of it I've already known in previous conversations with you, but if you could just share what is it that brought you to medicine, something that you could share about yourself.
What brought me to medicine was my father. I never wanted to become a doctor as a kid.
Sure.
Uh, I loved maths and physics as a kid, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something in maths or physics. And the second option was to join the army because as a kid, that desire was always there to die for the army. And I also come from Uttarakhand, and Uttarakhand people are known to join the army. And we grow up reading about people from our
Yeah.
state who are martyrs and
Yeah.
are seen as heroes. So growing up in that culture, the idea was always to do something for the country.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd join the army and. But my parents had different plans. My father wanted me to become a doctor because naturally, he grew up in a lot of poverty, and growing up, he was the youngest in the family. Siblings, eight siblings. His father died when he was very young. So single mother when you have eight children. So a lot of poverty, and he saw medicine as a stable profession, which would not put like I. So I wouldn't have to see poverty ever.
Sure.
And so for him, medicine looked like a profession. Even if I'm sitting under a tree, I can make enough to have food that day. Uh, so so he wanted me to do medicine, and so I decided to do that, pursue medicine. I was never like there's the cream of the school and all that. I was never in that category in school as well. But somehow I made it to that interview list at CMC, and I mean, life changed after that. Uh, while at second part of life, growing up in CMC, they used to tell us that you are here because Ida Scudder has chosen you. And I used to believe that because I was not smart enough to be there. So I mean, I was like, definitely Ida Scudder has chosen me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And I was cleaning my shelves yesterday and on Sunday, and I found the book that they've. I don't know if I can show it to you. So this is the book they give us when we graduate from Willow, which is called
Yeah.
Passing on the Torch of Life. And the first page says making a difference to health in India and wherever you are, passing on the torch to you who are the future. And this was a message was given to us all the time at Willow that you are the change maker. You are so if somebody like me who doesn't even believe that is being told that every single day, at the end of 4.5, 5 years, you start believing that it's your responsibility to fix everything that is wrong in this world. No pressure at all. But yeah, that's how I got into medicine. And I actually had my AFMC interview. But I got into CMC before I could go for my FMC interview. So that was a compromise that, I'll join army, but I'll do medicine in the army. So I also get to do what I wanted to do, and my father also gets what he wants. But then I ended up in CMC. I have no regrets, honestly. After I met, we used to go to these basketball tournaments and play against the FMC people. So after I met them, I was like, no, I'm so glad I was in CMC. So yeah, so that's how I ended up doing medicine. And we had a 2-year bond in Vellore because our education fees was barely 3,000 rupees per annum. So we had to give it back to the people who funded our education through our patients. So our education was funded through patient care. So we had to give it back to the community by serving there for 2 years. And in those 2 years, I worked for a year in the Department of Medical Oncology. And in my first year and my second year, I worked in the Department of Adult Emergency. And so that's when, I saw all the suffering, because when I was in emergency, that's when COVID hit, the second wave of COVID, particularly, which is like, as we all know, was insane. So that's what got me interested into preventive medicine, because there was so much of unnecessary suffering that I witnessed. People turning up at stage 4 when I was in oncology, breast cancer, which is curable. So that got me really questioning everything about our health system, that why are people coming so late? And so I decided to do community medicine, and now I'm in my final 6 months of my MD training.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. But I mean, there's so many questions for me along that trajectory that you shared, right? Including playing basketball against AFMC. But I just to go back to your question on community medicine, I was wondering if you could share a little more about that, like your
Yeah.
decision to stay with community medicine. Yeah.
So I've always been the kind of guy who would do something that nobody else wants to do, because it gives me a different thrill. Uh, and so while a lot of my batchmates had, decided neurosurgery and, pediatric oncology quite early on, uh, while I was in third year, so we had something. So we had an elective posting in our third year. It was called the JKLMN posting. And at the end part of the JKLMN posting was the elective posting, where we could choose 2 departments where we would do elective posting. So like most of my friends were going to rheumatology, neurology, nuclear medicine. I decided to go to family medicine and pathology, because I wanted to see the side of medicine where you don't see patients. So I went to family medicine, sorry, pathology. And I wanted to see the side of medicine where you see everything. Whoever walks in, you have to treat them. So I was family medicine. And CMC has this unit called Low Cost Effective Care Unit, LCECU. And so that's the family medicine unit at CMC. And so I was posted at LCECU for 2 weeks, where I met Dr. Sushil. He asked me, like, do you want to come with me to a clinic? And then both of us went to remote part of Vellore, and we went inside a church, and we sat there inside of the clinic. I was a third year medical student. All I could do was measure blood pressure. I didn't know anything else. So I was just sitting there, and I was just observing him, helping him with the vital signs. And so the first person who walked in, I still remember, was a pregnant lady, and he saw that lady and gave her the treatment. The next person was a person with an addiction, and he treated that person. Next person was a child with diarrhea, and he treated that person. The next person was a lady with diabetes. And I was like, this guy is a superman. How can you just treat everybody? It's like so many different conditions. Like, don't we have like specialists for each of these? We have a psychiatrist, we have a endocrinologist, and this person was sitting there, and there was a huge line just waiting for this one person to turn up. And that's what made me realize that this is what the country needs. I mean, we will always have a lot of oncologists and specialists, but what the country needs right now is a guy like Dr. Sushil, who is just, going to a place, sitting where the people are sick and treating them. So that's when I decided to do family medicine in my third year of medical school. But then when during my internship, we have this 2-month posting in the community health department, and community health department at CMC is called Community Health and Development Department, so CHAD.
Okay.
I was posted in CHAD, and CHAD had this option of getting posted in RUSA. RUSA is Rural Unit for Health and Social Affairs, which is around 25 kilometers from Vellore. And you could get posted if you could volunteer to go there for a month, and nobody does that. So I was like, if nobody's doing it, I have to do it. There has to be something, right? Why nobody wants to do it. So I decided to go there for a month, and it was the best part of my internship. And I spent a month there at RUSA, and then I was like community medicine because I had to do a research project there as a part of internship. So I did a community-based research project, and that's when I realized this is my way back to maths, which I like in school. So this is way back to research and getting back to maths and sort of mixing maths and science and medicine. And so that's when I decided community medicine. And I remember when I was in my during my bond period, people used to ask me, "What do you want to do after you finish your bond?" And I was like, "I want to do community medicine." And one of my seniors was like, "Why don't you hang yourself upside down from a tree and tattoo stupid on your forehead?" And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, "Okay, fine, sure."
yeah.
And because everybody expected I'll take up medicine, I'll take up general medicine. Because like general medicine postgraduate students would copy my discharge summaries because I
Hmm.
used to be very thorough with my notes and everything.
Hmm.
So everybody thought, general medicine is what I'll like, end up doing. But then I just took up community medicine. Everybody, quite a few people were quite surprised and quite disappointed also. But yeah, things have a lot
So
of things have
what
happened.
what was that experience that you mentioned in the so at the RUSAs that would is that the
RUHS, yeah.
yeah. So you maybe talk a little more.
Yeah,
What
yeah. So I remember. So I love talking to people, uh, which is why now from a maths and a heavy number researcher, I've gone into more of qualitative research quite recently. I've shifted gears. So I always enjoy talking to people, getting to know who you are. What's your story? What does your family look like? And what's your biggest worry? What's your dream? And that's the same for my patients as well. I like to know. I like to get to know them. And Rusa gave me that freedom to do that. So I would turn up at 11 in the night on the ward and I would sit with patients, they'll give me their food and we all will sit together and we'll just chat about life. It's raining and you're sitting in the corridor with the patient sitting next to you and just, seeing birds. And that was amazing. That was just, you don't feel stressed because of work because you can just, it's just like normal, taking care of people. Uh, so I really enjoy it, and I like traveling a lot. So community health is also about going to these far-flung places, and it was always exciting for me when our van would break down, and then you have to trek up the Javadi Hill to reach that tribal area to see people there. So I mean that's what I found quite fascinating, and also just the ability to do a bit of everything. So nobody needs like the best position in this country to deliver a child normally. An MBBS doctor should be able to do that. As an MBBS doctor, we were also trained to do sections. So in my internship, I have done 10 cesarean sections by myself. With one person standing on the other side, but skin to skin, I'm doing it. So we were trained to do all of that as MBBS doctors. Uh, so it was just fun because life was not boring. So I wouldn't be sitting in one place and seeing only diabetes, or just surgical patients. You never know who's the next person who's going to walk in with something causing suffering, and you have to be prepared to address that. So that challenge was quite exciting. So that's what sort of got me interested in community medicine.
I'm gonna like just go back to the point that you mentioned about doing something different because in my limited understanding at least the discourse that I hear around especially in the healthcare community with great exceptions of course is that there are costs, right? It's a cost discourse that medicine and then there's a very lucrative career ahead. You mentioned specializations. So, I mean, doing something different is great. There's a lot of fun, but a lot of people would articulate this in terms of costs and career choices, etc. So, do you want maybe could you share a little?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I get what you mean. So there obviously are a lot of sort of privileges that made it easy for me to choose the path that I'm on. Uh, so even though my father faced a lot of poverty growing up, he worked really hard to get out of that uh, sort of state, and so growing up, he ensured that I was not deprived of anything. right? Be it food, nutrition, leisure, or anything, he would work hard to sort of so that me and my sister, both of us, have access to everything that we need, from top quality education to all the comfort. And so there's obviously that backing of now stability at home. Uh, the My father was in State Bank of India, so there is pension coming in. My mother was a teacher, so they are financially stable. So that responsibility does not fall on me to provide for my family. Uh, my sister is settled, and she is financially stable, so I have to take care of my sister. So obviously there is that the only person I have to earn for is myself. And if I'm spending 300 rupees on food in a day, that's if I make that much in a day, I'm all right. As long as somebody gives me a roof to sleep under. So all that sort of with all that background, it became my sort of quality of life is not very luxurious. You know I am okay with one cot and one three shirts. I have like five shirts, and three pants. That's all I want. So I live a very basic life, so I know how much I need. So that made all that, with all this background, it made it quite easy to decide to do this. And so, yeah, I mean, Dr. Ravi Kannan, who's like my mentor role model, he says that to to be able, to have the opportunity to uh, serve others is a gift, but to be able to do that is a privilege. And not everybody is privileged. People are gifted, but they have their own issues. They have family commitments, a lot of other things which sort of stop them from doing what they really. I'm sure a lot of people want to do what, to go in the villages and stuff. I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of people want to do that, but
Hmm.
they have commitments, right? So you can't blame them that, oh, why did you become a neurosurgeon? You're minting money. We need neurosurgeons also. It's not like we don't need neurosurgeons. We need them, but I mean, any sort of medicine is all right as long as it's not exploiting somebody
Hmm.
to make a profit. It should
Sure.
not be profiteering of people
Sure.
because health is ultimately a right.
Yeah.
So I'm just against profiteering. As long as you can be a neurosurgeon and you can sort of,
Sure.
help a lot of people without causing any financial destruction, it's possible. It's just that you have to draw that line of where you are exploiting people and where you're helping people.
Um, so at what point did palliative care happen? As in, there's so much of work that you've been writing, at least your research on palliative care. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a long story. It's a long story of transitions, multiple transitions. So naturally, when I started my medical education, the idea was to become the doctor who saves everybody, because that's what a good doctor is always portrayed as, a doctor who saves everybody. And when I was in internship, and then I went to oncology, and people are dying left, right, center in oncology. Every other day, somebody is dropping dead. And I remember there was this lady, and I've always been a very enthusiastic learner. So if there's something new, I really want to, understand and learn it quickly. So I was in oncology, and I was reading up books now as because oncology is barely taught in undergrad school, so we don't know anything about cancer. So I was reading up things, and a few months into the work in the department, I was getting a grasp of things. So there was this lady with CA ovary, and we did rounds in the morning, and I told my senior that she's on first line of chemotherapy. This gives survival of 2 years. Then she'll relapse most probably. Then there's the second line which is available. That'll give her one more year. Then third line, fourth line. So I do a chart till 7 lines in the morning rounds. That lady died that evening. And I was shocked, and I was like, how is that possible? Where did I go wrong? She just arrested in the evening, and she was supposed to survive for 10 years in my head with a stage 4, stage 3 cancer. And so now I was like, I'm not able to save everybody. So there has to be some change in my ideology to be able to survive this profession. So I changed it to I will help everybody. So now when I'm in oncology, people are dying, and I'm sitting next to their bed, holding their hand while they're dying, sitting with their relatives, drawing things and explaining it to people, trying whatever I can to make them understand the disease and what happens with the body. And so now I feel like I'm helping everybody. And then I go to emergency the next year, and COVID hits. So I remember I was standing at the gate of the emergency with a pulse oximeter, with vans coming in, and I would just check their oxygen saturation. I'm sorry, it's 80%. We are running out of oxygen. We have to go home. And now I can't even help everybody because I'm just denying the treatment status. I'm just playing God. And so now the idea had to change. I'll try to help everybody. And so in this whole process of somewhere palliative care seemed like the kindest approach to healthcare, where it was not just about curing people, which was what I was sort of taught and trained as an undergrad. So definitely the time in oncology was the point when I got exposed to palliative care. And my department was actually very supportive. At CMC, we had a palliative care department also at CMC. So it was like a mandate for us. If somebody's coming with stage 4 disease, you refer them. As soon as they enter the ward, we have to put a palliative care referral. So a lot of those things, interacting with the physician in the department there got me exposed. And then obviously I read Dr. Rajagopal's book, sat crying for days. And so that's when I reached out to Dr. Rajagopal, read about his work, spoke with a lot of other people. So slowly, that's how I got interested into it, and that felt like a more holistic form of practicing medicine. I mean, that palliative care ideally should not exist, in my opinion. It's just taking care of people. Just keeping the person in the center of your treatment and not the disease. And seeing them, if they don't have food, you get them food. If their roof is broken, you fix that. If their biggest worry is that they are not able to light a diya in front of the god because now they can't see, you help them do that. I mean, that is palliative care, which is basically just being human. So yeah, it's just that's how I got interested in this branded medical field of just practicing good medicine.
Yeah. Uh, and there's this whole degree of research that you've been doing in terms of access and disparities, right? So, is there something that you could share with viewers and listeners about some of the findings of some of your recent work in
Yeah.
palliative care in terms of access and disparities? Yeah.
So I mean, the biggest surprise from the research was Kerala is doing really well, which is not a surprise at all. But yeah, so what we did was that we geolocated all the active palliative care centers as of 2022, and there were 526, and out of them, 45% were in Kerala. Uh, and so naturally,
Yeah.
it's really good. The scenario is quite good in Kerala, but the rest of the country is struggling.
Hmm.
For example, from what I remember, Uttar Pradesh had only eight, 8 or 10 centers. Uh,
Hmm.
the most populated state in the country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, Northeast, even though has less number of people, slightly more number of centers, but because of the hilly region, the access was
Yeah.
poor.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to study how long does it take for a person to reach the nearest palliative care center,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so we found that if you look at the national level, 25% of the people can reach the center in 30 minutes. But if we split it urban and rural, uh, for rural areas, 11%. So only 11% of the rural population, and this is when they're using a motorized vehicle. So
Yeah.
if the limitations in our work, which if the road condition is perfect,
Hmm.
if the weather is fine, if the person owns a motor vehicle, and if they travel to the nearest center, 11% of the rural population will reach in 30 minutes. Now you take off these, assumptions, and it will be much worse. And you still don't know if that center has morphine or not. So they might have to travel further if they require pain relief. So that's what we've been studying. We're going to expand that work now into access to childhood cancer care. We are also going to partner with NHSRC to study cancer daycare center at district hospital. So Nepal just reached out. We're doing the same work in Nepal now.
Okay.
Uh, so it's just basically trying to highlight which areas need
Hmm.
new centers to improve access in a
And
scientific way.
would this be like a kind of a longitudinal project? Would you be tracking this over years? Because I'm just curious to see shifts and how, where, etc. What is driving shifts? Just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So the happy news is that 2022 we had 526 centers and now we already crossed 1,000. Uh, so things are moving forward. We'll probably repeat this exercise every 5 years to see what's happening. To do it every year, it's
Possibly doesn't
quite a
amount.
huge project to do it.
Yeah.
So maybe once every 5 years we do it. Our paper is in WHO bulletin peer review right now. So it's been 3 months. It's the status is that paper is meeting for the past 2 weeks. I don't know what meeting they're having for so long about this paper. But yeah,
Sure.
I'm quite positive that this will get accepted and then we can shake
Sure.
up few things
Yeah.
once it's
Great. No, that's I mean, at least it's important to have that information, right? Because I mean, otherwise we're still dealing with the fact that yeah, Kerala has X number of centers and there's this 3 to 4% coverage in India, which we still stay with, right? Those numbers. And so it's helpful, I guess, to have those
yeah.
uh state-wise breakup. And although that question of what nags me at least is, if something's been around, certain models have been around since the 1990s, why do we not see them? I mean, perhaps not replicated as is, but at least translated to different parts of the geography of India, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, so the thing is, models exist.
Yeah.
This we don't know because and this is one issue that I have with CMC as well. That a lot of good people think the right approach to care is silently sitting and working. And this is even I've given this feedback to the admin at CMC as well. And they like we believe in quietly, passionately, and silently working. But that doesn't help. You're restricting your impact by not telling people about what you're doing. And that's something I've learned in Delhi. I've learned from people in Delhi how to sell yourself even when you're not doing anything. So you might not have done anything in your life, but you can go up on stage and show yourself to be the best person, and you are responsible for every good that has happened in this country. So that's something I've learned after coming to Delhi. So there are brilliant models of care. There is Goa.
Yeah.
Goa is providing end of life care in primary health centers. So 1 to 2 beds are reserved in primary health centers in Goa, so that if somebody is nearing death and they have somebody who's working at home and they can't be with them, they are admitted in the primary health center so that the person can go to work and earn a living, so that they don't have loss of wages. So
Hmm.
that's a big model in Goa. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Shaheed Hospital in Jammu and Kashmir, where a team of I think 8 to 10 women are providing home-based palliative care to 3,000 people.
Amazing.
And
Yeah. Not talked about.
which is insane, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so what we are trying to do at Nasser now is that we are trying to document these models. So
So
we are,
yeah,
because why should we only talk about Kerala? It's
oh, for
unfair.
sure. Yeah,
It's unfair for other people who are doing this brilliant work.
for sure.
And you will be humble, but it's okay. We'll show you off. So
Yeah.
give us the opportunity to write about you. And we'll do all the branding and showing off
Yeah.
for you. So yeah, there are models. And Assam's model, the
Yeah.
PEP model.
Yeah.
So where a guy is going on a scooter
Hmm.
to houses, and
Hmm.
he's providing information for how to prevent cancer. He's screening people relatives for cancer, and he's providing palliative care to the person. It's called the PEP model: prevention, early detection, palliation,
Hmm.
a bundle of care. So we have some brilliant models have been working inside the country. Just that we have to start documenting them.
Um, which kind of leads me to your work with Nivarana, right? Because some of what you are doing is also to document and to talk more about uh, models that people don't get to hear about, but also, I mean, reflections, right, among physicians on their care practices. So, can you tell us about when Nivarana happened? Why, as in, why did you think about this at all?
So I this also has a long backstory to it. 2019, when I was doing my internship, I was going through the admin blog at CMC and I saw a poster saying Lancet Citizens Commission is inviting volunteers uh, for evidence synthesis.
Sure.
The N2 person that I am, I saw an email ID to apply to and I wrote to him. And Dr. Gagandeep Kang replied because she was the commissioner from Vellore and she accepted my application. So I joined the Lancet Commission, and Lancet Commission had a tie-up with Hindustan Times. So you can directly write for Hindustan Times if you're in the Lancet Commission. That time I was working in oncology when I had finished my internship and I started working in oncology, and that's when COVID hit. And suddenly, the work dropped in oncology because most of our patients are coming from West Bengal, Bangladesh. So state borders closed, national borders closed. So our patient volume really dropped. So I wrote an article, which is my first article ever, was impact of COVID on cancer care in India. Because I was now seeing, patients struggle to come for treatment, and a lot of people were that's why abandoning treatment. Abandoning won't be the right term because I think it puts the onus on them. I think people are not able to get treatment because of our unnecessary lockdown. And so that happened, and then I quite naturally got very excited that I've got an article in Hindustan Times. Wow. So I wrote the next one. I wrote on the next one was on palliative care. So palliative care in India, care beyond cure was the next article. And then I realized that there are a lot of things that I want to write about, but the newspaper won't take them. Like I wanted to write about how Japan reduced stomach cancer burden
Hmm.
over the years. What did they do differently, which India can learn from.
Okay.
So I just and I also wanted to rant about a lot of things going wrong in the health system. So I put up was like one night I just put up an Instagram story, being the young enthusiastic person I was. I'm starting a personal blog. What should I call it? And my childhood friend Saransh, she replied Nivaran, and he was like the most sarcastic person I've known in my life, who would have said something like poop or something. But he said Nivaran, and I was like, this is like such a nice word. I started reading up on the meaning, and it had a different meaning in Buddhism, had a different meaning in Sanskrit, and everything made so much sense. Removing distress, removing obstacles of ignorance, solution. And I was like, this is perfect. So I looked up, and there was no domain for Nivaran. And then I found that in Telugu, it's Nivarana. So then I looked up Nivarana, and Nivarana domain was available, and that's how Nivarana started. So I remember the day I bought the domain, and I designed the website myself with all YouTube videos and all that I saw. And I sat 12 hours straight, and I wrote the first article of how Japan addressed stomach cancer problem. Yeah. The article is no longer on our website, but that was the first article I wrote. And then on Twitter, I was this one person from Assam texted me saying, I'm planning on doing community medicine, and I've seen you're quite vocal about it. So, have you listed any colleges? So I was like, yeah. And, these are the colleges that I'm thinking of. And I've also started this website where I'm writing public health stuff. Do you want to, join? And then she was like, yeah, sure. So two of us started writing together. And so that's how Nivarna started. Started as a personal blog, ranting space. But then 2023 end, we were taken down for some reason. I don't know who took us down, or if really somebody took it down, or it was just a technical glitch, but we disappeared completely from the internet.
I remember I
So
think we were talking around that time, and there was this.
yeah,
Uh,
so we had to restart again everything from scratch, which is why the Japan article is not there on the website now.
okay.
Uh, so then we restarted everything. It took us 3 months to get back online. And now we are a team of 10 people. And it's amazing how people have come together. So Nivarna is no longer something, which I can take credit for. It's uh, it's a doctor who is also a journalist. It's a doctor who is also a coder who manages a website. It's a doctor who is also an illustrator. So it's a lot of things now. It's just doctors and doing extra work. So yeah, that's the story of Nirvana. The main sort of what our ideology now is to hold the mic for people who don't have a voice, or whose voices have been actively suppressed by our system and our people. To hold the mic for them till we can pass the mic to them. To slowly empower them along the way as well,
Yeah.
and so that there is a sense of uh, awareness in the community that things are not as equal as we think they are, and it's only that top 1 to 5% that is doing all right, and the majority is suffering. And to create that sense in the people who have that power to bring a change, that there is a need for change, and how this is how we can drive the equity. So even though our audience is very small, but our audience is the people who have a voice.
Yeah.
So that's primarily who we are targeting now. So yeah, that's the one.
It's incredible that you said that the first website that you had, you coded it yourself. You designed it yourself, you said, right? Oh, so because I mean, it's insane. I mean, the little work that we've just started doing is uh, these little tech glitches can be so overwhelming, and there's just so much. So at least there's five of us, and then we kind of partition it among us. When the one person gets frustrated, it's somebody else who picks it up. So it's a lot of work, and no, I mean, how do you do it alongside everything else that's been going on with?
No, the secret is to not have a life outside work. So that's the secret. And also to have these strategies of how to get out of a burnout every 3 months. If you figure that out, I think,
Uh,
I mean, so
I'm
I'm
just so
quite,
tempted to say that I hear you, but I don't think
yeah, no, no, no,
stretch myself to say that my work hours are as long as I can anticipate your physician life work hours are.
no, I think I'm quite aware that a lot of people uh, see the surface of my life, which looks quite um, successful and glamorous and you know amazing. But I've had the most toxic work ethic personally, right? I mean, I don't expect the same from others, but the amount that I expect from myself is insane, which has been extremely toxic for myself.
Okay,
Which people don't get to see, obviously, because
sure,
it doesn't. I mean, I don't go online and cry about things.
sure.
But so now things are getting better because I have had this phase of anxiety, depression.
Okay,
I started therapy for it, and now I have Sundays are no work days, which is why we didn't have this call last week because
sure.
Sundays are strictly no work
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
No work on Sundays, no work on Sunday. So a lot of things have changed that way. But previously, how I was like, if I get an email at 3 in the night, I get up and reply.
Hmm.
If I've submitted a paper and 1 o'clock, I'm getting a rejection from the
Yeah,
journal.
yeah,
1:05, it's gone to the next journal.
yeah, yeah,
That's how my work ethic was.
yeah.
The things need to be done now because I'm running out of time.
Hmm.
But then I also realized that this sort of the whole work culture that I created for myself was, I was losing more time that way because half the time I was burnt out.
Yeah,
Uh, so I think which is why I've been able to do so much because uh, I was not taking any breaks. I was sitting, even during lunch, I would be doing something. Uh, Even when I'm sleeping, I'm thinking of work.
yeah.
Uh, so a lot of those things, so not the best approach. I would totally advise against it.
It's hard, isn't it, when if you, for example, if you really care about sitting with somebody at 11 o'clock in the night and watching the rain, it's hard to call that work and not work, right? When you talked about your community medicine
Yeah, yeah.
or your, your internship period. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it's sometimes tough to draw those boundaries which people expect, or there's a certain discourse around boundaries, right? Like, this is
No,
work, this
see,
is life.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah. Now, how I see it is, we all are overcompensating at some place in our life, personal or professional. And what I was overcompensating for was mostly the lack of uh, that instant gratitude which my work previously was giving me. When I was working in the
yeah,
emergency and if I'm in the
yeah,
red zone, somebody comes in, if the person is, close to death, I bring them back out and I,
yeah.
stabilize them. That was instant gratitude,
Mm.
right? To
Mm.
saving people. And now when you are here, you don't get that kind of
Okay.
sort of satisfaction because it's such your project's impact, you might see 100 years later, you don't even know.
Yeah.
And so then I was trying to do 30 things at the same time.
Yep.
Because so I would write newspaper articles every month
Yeah.
because that's short-term projects, and you
Correct.
see something happening in the newspaper, there's some
Yeah.
gratification you get out of it. Research projects take me at
Whatever.
least 2 years.
Yeah.
So, if I don't start a new project every 3 months,
Yeah.
I won't get that sort of output.
Yep.
So there was a time when my to-do list tracker project had 30 projects. Uh,
Yeah.
Now it has 8.
Sure.
Uh, right? So I was
Yeah.
managing 30 projects at the same time.
Yeah.
So that way it was quite stressful because I was overcompensating for that sort of lack of instant return of things moving. Um, yeah, which now I've sort of given up on because it takes time. It's not a sprint; it's a marathon. So it took some time to get out of that mindset that it's my responsibility. It's only my responsibility to fix things. Uh, it's not. It's too much to ask from myself. I can do what I can. Maybe put 2, 3 pieces of the puzzle, make it sort of more understandable for the next person to be able to put an extra 2 pieces. I mean, that's all I can do. So I can't put the entire puzzle and
Yeah.
finish that. So yeah,
So do you have a collective that you work with?
collective.
Like
And
is a collective group of people around you, or like a collective? I mean, I'm guessing Nivarana is one kind of collective, I
there
suppose.
are a lot of groups, I mean, which is one of the issues
Okay.
because it gets too overwhelming sometimes. So Nivarna is one group, ASR is one group, Association for Socially Applicable Research.
Yeah.
Last call I had was with the Advanced Care Planning Task Force of India,
Yeah.
that another group.
Yes.
Uh, then today morning, and there are some of these, tech companies which also need like a public health advice sort of thing.
Okay.
So I help with them as well. Is your technology really going to help people or not? Does it make sense? So to just sort of help them understand how they should approach things, and so a lot of these different groups. There is the now I'm a part of this United Nations Office on Drug and Crimes Young Doctor Network, which is now an international advocacy group to improve access to pain relief. So I have a meeting with them this week. So it's a lot of groups. I lose track sometimes, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was thinking more of not pure work collectives, but then I can see where you're going with this. But,
yeah. So I told you, though, my secret is not having a life outside work. But no, I do have another collective. It doesn't sound like a non-professional. It's called Nerd Convention.
okay.
So we are a bunch of nerds in Delhi.
Huh.
But yeah, when we get together, we don't talk about work. It's mainly just to relax and chill. And
Uh,
uh, yeah, so there is another sort of uh, group.
And no, I'm also cognizant of the fact that it's almost been an hour and that I should at some point let you go. But before that, I was wondering because I also, I mean, I follow your Substack writings so much. And so it's fascinating. And so thanks so much. I mean, Parth, for everything that you do, honestly. But just to maybe, kind of bring this somewhere to the end of this conversation, hopefully more that we can trouble you with for Sabar. But if there's any book or music or films that you can recommend for our viewers, and
So many of them.
yeah,
So the one I'm reading right now is called Anxious People,
okay,
Frederick.
read it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love it. So I've recently, that's again a part of my sort of changing my approach to life. I've started reading fiction quite recently.
yep,
Uh, All my books were just, like Why Nations Fall,
yeah.
and, with fascism and tyranny. And so, I mean, those kind of
Its own
books.
set of triggers.
Yeah. But I mean, if people are looking for motivation in public health, I would highly recommend Mountains Beyond Mountains,
Okay,
which is basically on Paul Farmer. If people are interested in tuberculosis, then Phantom Plague. It's amazing how it connects history, fashion, tuberculosis, and everything.
uh,
Uh, but if people are looking for an emotional book around death, I'll show it. It's called A Matter of Death and Life.
okay,
So it's beautiful. It's really nice. It's written by it's a real life story. It's based on 2 people from Harvard University. One uh, grief counselor and his wife gets diagnosed with cancer.
okay,
So they write alternate chapters in the book, and then she dies, and he finishes the book. It's a lovely book. And A Man Called Ove, obviously, again, if somebody wants to read about death and sort of
Yeah.
understand that. And if people are looking for something to read on that'll help with their relationships, I think Courage to Be Disliked.
Okay.
And the second part, Courage to Be Happy, is more about bringing up children and education.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful books. It's on a kind of philosophy called Adlerian philosophy.
Okay.
Uh, so that's really nice. It's a lot of books. I like reading books a lot. So
Fantastic. Yeah.
I love reading books. Movie. If doctors and healthcare providers are listening to this, there's a movie called WIT, WIT,
Okay.
which is a must watch.
Okay.
It's a satire on like a satire, but also like a sort of it showcases the harsh reality of
Hmm.
care uh,
Okay.
from the perspective of poet.
Uh-huh.
So it has a lot of poetry,
Uh,
and it has a lot of sarcasm, and it also has that harsh reality of how doctors treat patients
okay.
unknowingly, and not knowing that they're doing something wrong, but they are
Uh,
just that's how they think it normally things are. So yeah, I think I would suggest only one movie because I don't watch a lot of movies.
no, that's fantastic. And I think we put references to all of this on.
But one podcast which is amazing. It's called On Being,
Okay.
ONBING, On Being, by Krista Tippett. It's brilliant. I mean, that podcast has given me so much to think about. And possibly one more book, if I may. It's called
As
uh,
many, all welcome.
Consolation by David Wright.
Amazing.
This
Thank
is
you.
brilliant. This book is brilliant. It's about deeper meaning of words.
Okay.
People who are interested in prose poetry,
Sure.
this is brilliant.
That is fantastic. I feel like I have a big, huge, growing list of books coming out of this, spiraling out from this conversation alone. So, but thank you so much, Parth, for everything that you are doing. And
Thank
I hope
you.
you get, more power to you, really, for everything that you're doing, and may your tribe grow, kind of a spirit, for me at least. So, thanks so much. And yeah, and speak to us more about all the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thanks.
Thanks.